Hello there, this is Miriam, holistic life coach and mind body practitioner at Pain Outside the Box. And today I'm going to be speaking about what to do if you feel like giving up on treating or addressing your chronic pain or symptoms. So this video is specifically for those people who have already ruled out anything serious being the cause of their pain. So it's for those people who have already started exploring the mind-body approach to chronic pain, which means that they've started exploring how their stress levels, their emotions, what's happening in their lives is affecting their symptoms, okay? So basically it's for those who have already some knowledge of what TMS or mind-body syndrome is. Okay, so I find that there are two kinds of people who struggle and who feel like giving up. And the first group are those people who read up about the subject, think that it applies to them, but they skim over everything. So let's say they read about the subject, they watch some videos here and there, but the way that they are integrating their knowledge is very scattered, in the sense that they might be getting the information, but they are not taking the time to properly reflect on how it applies to them. And most importantly, they are not doing the work in the sense of working on their beliefs, on their mindset, and their daily habits, which are all really, really relevant when it comes to brain rewiring for chronic pain or symptoms. So this is the group of people who kind of has the information, but doesn't know what to do with it. But because they think that they've already learned enough, they give up because nothing changes for them. And if you're in this category, my recommendation would be to first start off with a more consistent approach. So start over with a resource that allows you to go through the process step by step, rather than just scattering your attention over different videos by different people, different books, maybe not reading them all through. So I would rather that you read one book and complete a set of tasks in that book, for example, rather than read a chapter here and a chapter there from different books, or watch a video here and a video there. Okay? So I don't want to be promoting my own program over here. Some of you know I have my own program which guides you step by step, but there are various resources that tackle mind-body syndrome in a similar way. So I would say just choose one of these resources. They are all priced differently depending on the content that they contain. So some of them are simple workbooks, for example. Some of them contain videos like my own. Some of them contain additional resources. It doesn't matter much, in the sense that what matters the most is that you find yourself going through a process. And what I mean is that you find yourself learning certain information, and the resource or the program that you're following gets you to reflect on how those learnings apply to your life, and ideally also gets you to journal these reflections out. So typically a good TMS mind-body program contains journaling and self-reflection tasks to get you to get a bit clearer on what kind of emotions you're carrying around, okay? Apart from educating you also on certain false beliefs you might have about chronic pain, on certain doubts that you might be facing and that may be holding you back, okay? So as I said, do your research, see what is most suitable for you. Some people prefer a resource that they can just print out. Some people prefer a book with tasks. I mean, there are resources out there, but my recommendation is stick to one of them first for, let's say, 1 to 2 months. You do the tasks consistently, you journal consistently, you reflect on how you are reacting to your pain, your relationship with your pain. You examine whether there are still any doubts that are holding you back. By doubts, I mean doubts in a structural cause, okay, because those can strongly hold you back. So that's my recommendation for the first category of people. The second category of people are those who have done way more than they should have. They're those people who have bought a bunch of programs, seen a bunch of coaches. They follow every YouTuber on TMS. They've read several books, and they still can't get over their pain. They still can't overcome their pain. With this group, I would say the next thing to do is actually to pretend that you have given up. It's to stop doing what you're doing immediately, because what we're doing is another form of TMSing. It's another form of obsessing. You don't need to get and understand every bit of information out there. You're not missing out on anything, okay? For as long as you understand how mind-body syndrome works, how it might apply to you, you don't need to keep reading and watching and overloading yourself with all this information. You don't need to try out every kind of somatic therapy out there, okay? Sometimes you might notice that the more you try and you don't see results, the more disappointment you will feel, and that can be really, really damaging. So if you identify with this kind of person, I would say just please stop for now. Don't buy anything else, don't watch anything else for the next 4 weeks, okay? Your brain needs time to process information, and you need to let go of resistance. When we're constantly doing something to try and solve a problem, it could be our chronic symptoms, but it could be any other problem as well. But when we're constantly doing something to try and solve it, we're actually in a state of fight. We are fighting the problem, we are resisting the problem, and that in itself creates a lot of tension in the body. It creates a lot of disappointment when we don't see the results, okay? So what we need to do in this case is just take a step back. In my case, there was an issue that I had tried and tried to solve, okay? I did every kind of therapy for it, and it didn't change. So I decided to just give up. I decided to not give it much thought, as much as possible. It was impossible to ignore, obviously, but at least I wasn't constantly trying to do something to fight it. And I can tell you that things have improved from there on. Once I let go of the fight, once I accepted where I was and said like, okay, here I am. I have this issue. I'm at the very bottom of the scale. I can't seem to solve it. I feel like I failed. I totally accepted that sense of failure, that sense of disappointment. And I accepted that maybe now in the present moment, right now, I couldn't do anything. By doing so, you might think that, hey, that's giving up. But in reality, it might lead to a release of resistance. It's about abandoning the fight to allow things to flow on their own. And sometimes things do come into place on their own when we stop resisting, when we stop fighting, especially if it's chronic pain that you're dealing with, because chronic pain is usually a result of tension in the body. And as we are trying to problem solve all the time, and if we think about our symptoms all the time, we are just generating more symptoms, more tension. So in that case, I would say just let it be, do what you can, okay? If you can do an activity, go ahead and do it. If you can't because the pain is too much, maybe back off for now. Don't push anything and don't do anything from a stance of wanting to fight it. Don't even journal, don't even do any other therapy if it hasn't had its effect for now. Just ditch it all and see what happens after a few weeks. Okay, so I think I've given you enough to think about in this video. Feel free to share whether you have ever felt like giving up with chronic pain, whether you feel that you identify with one category or the other, okay? And it's never too late to start over. It's not a bad thing to take a step back. What's important is that whatever you do from a mindset of openness, a mindset of interest, and not from a sense of desperation or from a sense of wanting to rush things. Okay, that's all from me for today, and I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.